Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We are here for Weather School Episode 3. We're talking rainbows, fogbows, moonbows, and just about everything in between. I know we're a little bit early, so we'll give it about 3 more minutes as people start to tune in. And we are so grateful to you for being here. I know a lot of folks are cooped up inside. It's kind of rainy here in the DC area today, so we might as well brighten the skies a little bit, so to speak, and talk some cool sights in the sky. Rainbows, fogbows, and everything in between. About 2 more minutes until we start up. We'll go a little bit while for people to join in. Of course, if at any point you have questions, do let us know. We are happy to take those. We are always eager to address questions, comments, concerns, anything like that. And we're always looking for more fun, interesting, exciting topics to talk about too. So if you have any ideas, let us know as well. We are all ears and we are eager to listen to what your ideas are and perhaps incorporate them into future episodes. We have about 1 more minute until we get started. I know folks are joining in right now. 115 people watching so far. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's great to have you. We'll see how many people tune in. The past couple of days have been pretty fun. We're talking rainbows, fogbows, moonbows, and everything in between. We might actually learn something new. In fact, rainbows can happen at night. Rainbows can be ghostly white. All sorts of cool stuff. Jason, of course, good to see you. Logan, 10 years old in Elk Ridge. Logan, thanks so much for being here. Great to have you. Emma is age 6. She loves rainbows. Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're pretty colorful. Liam, so far my day's going pretty well. Working at home today, but nice and comfy cozy here. Ben is age 10. He's watching. Ben, hello. Jack, age 8 in 2nd grade, Capitol Hill, DC. Jack, hello. Thanks so much for being here. Carla asking, what is a moonbow? Well, we'll talk about that in just a sec when we start getting up and going. Abby is 10. Izzy is 7, both in Vienna. Yeah, thanks so much for being here. Hello, Zach. Hi, Lauren, out in Glen Allen. All right, is it 1 o'clock yet? I'm looking at about 1 more minute. Henry, Spencer, Oliver, all you guys watching, thank you. Michael, age 7, Matthew, age 4. Well, Matthew, that's a pretty good name. I like that name. Tom is 10 and he's watching. Hello, Tom. Hi, Sophia, little 8-year-old. Great to have you. Thanks so much for being here. Liam, good question. We'll talk about severe weather perhaps later this week or next week. Today we're focusing on the more light side of weather. Clara and Luke, hello, guys. Maya and Max. Addison is excited to be here. Addison, we are happy to have you. We are talking rainbows, fogbows, moonbows, and everything in between. And with that, let's get going. So today we'll talk about what makes a rainbow, how can you see a rainbow, and what ingredients come together to make those beautiful colors in the sky. We'll talk about single rainbows and double rainbows. And this might be kind of crazy. We'll talk about triple and quadruple rainbows too. Odds are most of us have never seen one. I've never seen one, but they do exist. We just found out a couple years ago you can actually have 4 rainbows at once. We'll talk all about that. Now, rainbows have cousins too. We'll talk about fogbows. We'll talk about moonbows. We'll also talk about halos in the sky, full rainbows around the sun. We'll talk about the crazy colors we see in the sky too. The sky turns green sometimes before a tornado. We'll talk about that and all sorts of other neat stuff. Hello, Eva, age 7. Micah, age 8, and Caitlin is here as well. So, pop quiz. What color is on the outside of a rainbow? How about the inside? Might surprise you to learn that rainbows always have the same order of colors. They always have the same order of colors. Any guesses? What color is on the outside? Turns out the answer is red. A rainbow looks like that. Red on the outside, then orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And that's the color spectrum. Now we'll talk about that, how that forms, because it's pretty tough to get colors in the sky. You might look at the sun or look at the sky, and you see sunlight is mostly yellow or it's mostly white. Now, white light from the sun contains all the different colors, but they're mixed, so we don't see them. Now, sometimes when the sunlight shines through a raindrop, the raindrop can split those colors apart. We call that refraction. And that splitting process breaks apart all the different colors. Sunlight goes in white, it comes out red, orange, yellow, green, blue, all these pretty colors, and then it's split apart and cast in the sky as those different colors. And what we see is the rainbow. Now, in order to see a rainbow, you have to have your back to the sun and the raindrops in front of you, because the sunlight goes into the raindrop, it bounces back towards you as those different colors. To see a rainbow, the rain has to be in front of you and the sun behind you. The sun should not be blocked by clouds. The lower the sun, the higher the rainbow. That means you'll see the tallest rainbows around sunrise or sunset. Around noontime, the rainbow will be very low to the ground. And in some parts of the world, like the equator, during certain times of the year, you actually cannot have a rainbow at lunchtime. It's pretty cool. Now, sometimes you get two rainbows, not just one, but two, a double rainbow. Those are really cool. Now, I want you to look at this picture. The main rainbow, red is on the outside, but look at the second rainbow. It's fainter, it's tougher to see, but red is on the inside now. The colors in a secondary rainbow are flipped. So when you see a double rainbow, they have the same colors, but in the opposite order. That's kind of cool. That's because with the primary rainbow on the left, you get one bounce of the colors. But on the right, we see when their light goes in, it bounces twice and then splits apart. And that makes it so the rainbow colors are the opposite. That's what that looks like. That's a cool picture I took from, I believe, Shamrock, Texas, between Shamrock and McLean, Texas, back in 2018, after pretty strong to severe thunderstorms. I got hail that day, and, well, it was a beautiful sunset that night, and we were treated to a very tall rainbow and a very colorful rainbow as well. Now, one cool thing I noticed about this rainbow, look closely. Does anyone see anything weird about the rainbow? If you do, comment. I'm curious to hear what you think. What do you see that's weird about this rainbow? Any guesses? You might notice with this rainbow, the colors inside the rainbow are a little bit extra. Look after purple. You see almost a second or like a third miniature bow. This is called a supernumerary bow. Say that. Supernumerary, kind of tough to say. It's an interference pattern between light waves. What that means, you have a couple different bands of light, they kind of meet up and they make this weird colorful pattern. Think about what happens when you have a DVD or a CD and sunlight bounces off it. You might get those weird little rainbows split across. The same thing happens inside the rainbow when you have certain light waves combine, recombine, and result in a pattern of colors. Larger raindrops mean more supernumerary bows. You can have up to 5 of those repetitions of color inside. Susanna says it's blurry. Yeah, so the supernumerary bow inside is blurry. It's kind of faint, tough to see, but it's very cool to see. Now, this is what it looks like when you have all 5 repetitions. That's a cool picture from Pam Gore that was shared in the Cloud Atlas, a really neat online site. But you'll notice 4 or 5 of those repetitions. That's the max you can have, up to 5, but a very prominent supernumerary bow, and that's what you're seeing right there. It's phenomenal to see. I haven't seen one that good. The other cool thing, look down on the ground. You can actually see the rainbow is going all the way down onto the ground. That sometimes happens when the rain is heavy enough. It can look like it's going down onto the ground. That's pretty cool. Now, sometimes you can get rainbows during a hailstorm. I call these hailbows, and many people call them hailbows too. Now, technically, hail is solid, so you can't have the colors split through ice. But sometimes in warm weather, the hail, if it's big enough, falls, it melts, and as a result, that flings water into the air that acts as raindrops, and you can get actually a faint rainbow as a result during a hailstorm. I've seen that once before. I want to tell you a story about a time back in 2017. I was between Dumas and Borger, Texas, chasing an evening storm. You can see it right there. Now, around sunset, there was a sudden hailstorm that came down. See that white coming down from the cloud and spreading out? There's actually a hail shaft splitting apart as it heads towards the ground, fanning out in all directions with strong winds, and dropping some $quarter to $half sized hail. You can see it right here. It was actually a pretty loud storm. Listen in, and you'll hear how intense that hail was when the shower passed right over me. It hit my nose. So it was hailing, but then all of a sudden the sun started to come out. So the sun was behind me, the rain and the hail in front of me, and then another hail shaft passed right over me. The storm was spinning, there was a big plume of hail coming down, the sun came out, and then look how bright the sun got. So it's still hailing outside. I know I'm taking a kind of a bad video, but look at that. The sun brilliantly poured out from underneath the cloud. It's still hailing down below.
And actually, if you come outside right...
And look, all the white you see right there, that's hail coming down. And finally, a little tiny hail bow actually formed. You can see it right there, just to the left of the road sign. You see hail on the ground, about quarter to $half size, and produced this beautiful hail bow around sunset. Now, someone asked, how high is a rainbow usually? Great question, Nathan. He's age 10, asked a really good question. A rainbow is tallest around sunset, and that's why this hail bow was super tall, went very high in the sky. It's shortest in the middle of the day. Now, rainbows and hail bows can form even during intense hailstorms. We see one right here that formed in Texas when the hail was about quarter to $half size. But I saw a hail bow behind a hail and rainstorm that dropped softball-sized hail and broke my windshield. So, to recap, rainbows and hail bows and even snow bows form when the sun is behind you. The rain and the snow and the hail and whatever has to be in front of you. Snow bows can form too if the snow is melting. And with that, I'd like to pause for a second and take any questions we have so far. Anybody have any questions we can talk about so far? What questions do you have about rain and hail bows? Let's see, what questions do we have? Joanna asked if there could be a reflection. Okay, we'll talk about reflected bows in a second. Liam, yeah, good observation. That is a cracked windshield, indeed. Avery, age 5, wants to know if rainbows can appear in the winter. Yeah, great question, Avery. To do that, you have to have either rain in the wintertime, which can happen, or you can have a snow bow, but the snow has to be melting at some level, or there has to be water on the edge of the snowflakes and the ice crystals in order to get a rainbow. Can you ever find the end of a rainbow? Maeve, great question. You know, you can get pretty darn close, but when you get really close to the end, the rainbow will actually start moving with you. So as you run closer to it, the rainbow will push farther away. So rainbows are not solid. Every person sees a different rainbow with a different set of raindrops. And so as a result, we can never actually get to the end of a rainbow. It can look like we're near it, but the rainbow will start moving. How hot does it have to be? A great question. I'm a little unsure of what you're asking though, but you can have anytime the temperature is above freezing. If you get liquid water, you can get a rainbow. Is there a maximum number? Let's see. Drew wants to know if there's a maximum number of 9 rainbows in the sky. Drew, great question. We'll talk more about how many rainbows you can have. Ben wants to know, and he's 7. Ben wants to know, how many rainbows are there? How rare is a triple rainbow? Robin, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Can you stand inside a rainbow? Not quite, because as you get closer to the rainbow will push farther away from you. Now, crazy question. We know about single rainbows. We know about double rainbows. Can there be a triple rainbow or even a quadruple rainbow? What do you guys think? What's our guess? Can there be a triple or a quadruple rainbow? Anyone say yes? Who says yes? Can we see a triple or a quadruple rainbow? Anyone? Raise your hands, comment your guess. We'll talk about it in just a second. Bryn, great question. There can be lightning during a rainbow. So, yes, you can have a triple or even a quadruple rainbow. We just discovered them rather recently. Now, here's a tough thing. The third and the fourth bow are very faint, only about 5% as bright as a normal bow, so they're super tough to see with the naked eye. And they form on the same side as the sky as the sun. Now, that's really tough because you have to have rain on that side as well. So rain on either side of the sun and away from the sun, but the sun still has to be visible. So the parameters, the circumstances to get a storm like that are extremely rare, and they're super faint. Now, atmospheric optics, Les Cowley is an amazing scientist who deals with this sort of stuff, and he tracked down a picture taken by, looks like Sergei Antipov a couple years ago of a quadruple and a triple rainbow. Now, on the left, you see the main rainbow and the secondary rainbow. Those are the bright ones, but on the right, the same side of the sky as the sun, you see those little tiny super faint extra rainbows. Most of us wouldn't even notice them because they're so faint, they're tough to see, and most of the time, you can't see them. Only the camera can. In this case, everything was so bright you actually could see them, but most of us will likely never see a triple or a quadruple rainbow. Now, a crazier question. How about a fifth rainbow? Yes, you can have 5 rainbows, but the fifth bow is so faint and it overlaps with the first and second bow that we can't see it. Only super strong cameras can. But you can see a reflected light bow. It's kind of like a triple rainbow, but it forms in different ways. Here's an example of a reflected light bow. What happens, you have the main rainbow, the second rainbow form in the normal ways. But sometimes sunlight goes down into the water and bounces back up and can create a triple or a quadruple rainbow that connect with the main rainbow. Here's another example. Megan Callahan Kellenberger caught that last year in Robbinston, Maine. And that's what happens. You see the water right there? The sunlight went down into the water, bounced back up, and reflected off the water, and of course created another rainbow with those same raindrops. Pretty cool. Now let's see. Why are rainbows faint? Leslie, it depends on how intense the sunlight is, and each time the sunlight goes through and bounces through the raindrop, it loses its color a little bit, which is why the second rainbow is fainter than the first, the third rainbow fainter than the second, and so on. Let's see. Alana, can you have 6 rainbows? Yes, we can get a 6th one. It is extremely unlikely we could see that, but technically you could photograph it, I believe. But we normally stop at 5. Let's see. Can you have, Stephanie asks, can there be rainbows in space? You can have colors in space. You can't get rainbows in space because there's not water vapor up there. But good question. Let's see. So, what do you guys think about this one? Is this picture real? Is that a real picture? Any guesses? Liam, I am using GR2. I love GR2. It's my best friend. Does the amount of sunlight change the rainbows? Sophie, exactly, yeah. The more sunlight, the better and the more colorful the rainbow. Emily, you cannot have 10 bows. I'm sorry about that. We can only stop at 5 or perhaps 6. Still research ongoing to see whether or not we can stop at 6. Now, this is actually a real photo that Amanda Curtis took in Long Island, New York back in 2015. What happened? Long Island Sound that day was extremely flat, very placid. The water was flat, and as a result, it acted like a giant mirror. And so the sunlight not only triggered the first and second rainbow, but the sunlight went down in the water, bounced off, and created a third and a fourth bow that were reflected light bows. So it is a real photo. It's incredible. And on very rare occasions, if the water is flat enough, you can see that. Now, another crazy question. I want everybody to guess. Can rainbows happen at night? What do we think? Can rainbows happen at night? Any guesses? Any guesses? Can rainbows happen at night? Indeed, they can. They're called moonbows. They're super rare. You have to have the same ingredients. So rain in front of you, the moon behind you, and the moon has to be very close to full or full. So the more light, the better. They're very faint, but they're beautiful. Take a look at this. Ian Glendinning caught this back on September 16, 2016 in Northumberland, United Kingdom. That's shared from our friends at spaceweather.com. Not only do you have lightning in the background, you have the main rainbow, a moonbow, and a secondary moonbow at night. Incredible. So the storm obviously is departing. It's leaving us. The moon is behind us. We can't see the moon, but incredible photo. Here's another one caught by Chad Blakely on November 19, 2010 at Abisko National Park in Sweden. And you see not only the moonbow, you can see the stars up there. That is a rainbow at night. On the far left, you can just barely see a secondary moonbow, extremely faint. And then look, the northern lights are up there as well. Just an incredible scene. Has anyone out there seen one? Anybody seen one before? I never have. I'd like to. Has anyone seen one out there? Anybody? They're extremely rare. They're tough to see, but I would love to hear if anyone out there has seen one. Ada has seen one? Ada, that's incredible. Ellen suddenly has seen one? Wow, very cool, Ellen. I'm so jealous. Valerie, yeah, that is amazing. It's an incredible shot. Yeah, absolutely. Sarah and Alexis, age 12 and 9. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're so glad to have you. Now, I have a cool question for you guys. Do rainbows have ghosts? Well, not really, but kind of. There's something cool called a fogbow. So we talked about how raindrops have to be big enough to split sunlight into different colors. Sometimes, if the water droplets are too small, like you have in clouds or like you have in fog, the raindrops or the fog droplets cannot split the colors enough, but you still get some local enhancements. So you actually get a white rainbow or something called a fogbow. I've seen one before. They're super cool. Well, I'll tell you a story about a time I was up in the Arctic Ocean, inside the polar vortex. So I went all the way up here into the Arctic Ocean, the Chukchi Sea, and I was on a ship. And what happened, it was beautiful. The sun was always low to the horizon, which meant we would have tall rainbows or fogbows because the sun was low to the horizon. Now, another cool thing, we saw walruses, we saw all sorts of stuff like that, and it was super windy up there too. I just want to show you, I know it doesn't have to do with rainbows, but look how windy it was.
Hi guys, it's really windy right now. gust to about 50, 60 miles an hour. I can stand like this and not have to.
You know, I could actually stand up in the force of the wind 60 miles an hour because it was so strong. It was so much fun. But there were waves crashing, there was all sorts of stuff. But one day I was looking outside and I noticed there is a little ghostly white rainbow or fogbow out there. The reason being because there was so much fog in the air, there was a warm air mass coming in and colliding with the ice, and that resulted in water vapor and water droplets in the air. And it was actually freezing fog too because temperatures were below freezing. It formed ice that accreted on surfaces. But watch what happens when the sun is behind me and the fog droplets are in front of me.
So you've always wondered what's at the end of a rainbow, but have you ever wondered what's at the end of a fogbow? A really cool thing happening right now in the Arctic. Take a look behind me right now. You see lots of sea ice. Really nice stuff. We're right around 71.5 degrees north, but the sun's out. At the same time, it's foggy. And if we take a look over towards this side of the ship, you're going to be able to see a fogbow. It's really cool. It results from very small water droplets in the atmosphere. All resultants, you have the sun behind you and the fog in front of you, just like a rainbow. But because the fog droplets are so small, you get less refraction, so less smoke. If you take a look over here, you'll be able to see the whole thing. And the really cool part is, if we walk a little bit closer, please, you'll be able to see.
So look at that. Now somebody asked a second ago, who was it? Why were rainbows shaped like arches? Kirsten, great question. Why are rainbows shaped like arches? Now rainbows actually are not shaped like arches. They're actually the full circle. And you can see those from airplanes. Because we're close to the ground, half of the rainbow is above the ground and half would form below the ground, but we can't see it. If you want to see the full circle, you have to be high up, like in a mountain, a hill, up in the air, a tall building, or in an airplane. But it's super cool because you can actually see the whole thing. So with this instance, I was high enough up. I was 9 floors up on this Coast Guard ice cutter, the USS Healy, and you'll notice, look, the whole thing goes around and around. So that fogbow spreads all the way around. Now, another cool thing I want you to notice, do you see that upside down one in the middle? That is a reflected light fogbow. So what happened? The sunlight not only made the first fogbow, made a full circle, but the sunlight went down into the ocean, reflected back up, and made this second one right here that looks kind of like an upside down arch or a smile, which is amazing to see. Now, what other cool colors can we see in the sky? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. First, let's have another round of questions. Any questions? Karen wants to know, why am I wearing a t-shirt in that? Well, temperatures were around 40 at the time, which is pretty cool. Leslie Johnson wants to know what 1 plus 1 is. That is 2, Leslie. Good question. Let's see. I typed it was a circle. Claire, yeah, Claire, awesome job. Let's see. Allison and Maddie, let's be friendly now. Can we show us a picture? Now, yeah, we'll show you that in just a second. How big can a rainbow get? The biggest rainbows form close to nighttime. So to get a big rainbow, the sun has to be close to the horizon, and that's when it's super tall. Liam has not seen an upside down arch, but you can if you get a reflected light bow. Stephanie, yeah, wow is right. Why can't we see rainbows inside Carolina? You can. They're just kind of tough to see sometimes. You have to have the conditions line up just right. Terrified of heights, you would freak out, Anna. I don't blame you, yeah. Susanna, I went back in August 2018, so about a year and a half ago. It's pretty cool. Rainbows cannot be other shapes, Meredith. They are always shaped like a circle. Niagara Falls makes rainbow. Yeah, you can have rainbows form in lawn sprinklers and waterfalls. Anytime you have water droplets in the air, you get enough ocean spray, you can get enough like that. Is there a more scientific name for a rainbow? Nope, just rainbow. Why is red always the first color to appear in the rainbow? Great question, Eva. What we talked about earlier on, when the sunlight goes through the raindrop, it splits into different colors. And the path that the sunlight takes results in red being on the outside. Now with the secondary bow, those colors are reversed because there's one more bounce inside the raindrop, and that results in the colors being reversed and red being on the inside. Have I been in China? Luria, yeah, 4 times last year. I had a lot of trips over to China. Not anymore. Leslie wants to know, does a rainbow ever make a full circle? It always makes a full circle. We just can't see it most of the time. You have to be high up to see it. So in this case, I saw it high up like this. I saw the full circle for the fogbow because it was so high up, about 9 or 10 floors up. If you want to see the full circle for a rainbow, you have to be in an office building, super tall skyscraper on a high hill, which you don't always want to be in if you're in a thunderstorm, or you have to be in an airplane, which is pretty cool. Now let's see. Leslie wants to know what 45 times 16 is. I can't help but wonder if I'm being tapped to do someone's math homework. Let's see. Theodora, age 7, says she sees rainbows from her house. Oh, that's so cool. And rainbows, Daniela, cannot be in the wrong order. Now let's see. What other cool colors can we see in the sky? Well, we see red sunsets because the sunlight has to go through long parts of the atmosphere, and all the other colors are scattered out, and we only see red. Look at this. This is a beautiful picture of a red sunset I took back in Kansas in 2018 when I was storm chasing. Here's another picture. You can see sunsets almost always look red because of that reason. The longer the amount of atmosphere the light passes through, the more red it gets. Here's a cool picture I took of a storm around sunset. So the colors in the sky, you see red behind the storm. You can see the cloud shaped like a circle. It was starting to rotate, but the storm was actually all red thanks to the sunlight going through longer parts of the atmosphere near sunset and resulting in reddish colors. Sometimes you can get something called crepuscular rays. Everyone try to say that. It's kind of funny. Crepuscular rays. What are crepuscular rays? They're very pretty. Well, sometimes you have clouds and sun at the same time, and those result in little batches of sunlight, little beams of sunlight being aimed towards the ground. And when you have those gaps in the cloud cover, you can see crepuscular rays. It's super pretty. They're some of my favorites. I love them. That's one cool picture I took on that same day. That's actually the same day I got the hailstorm I showed you earlier on. Here's another cool picture. You know, sometimes the sky is mostly cloudy, but you get little tiny gaps of crepuscular rays to come down. And those are very pretty. I love crepuscular rays. Here's another example of some really nice rays around sunset. Here's rays poking out from behind a cool summer storm or a springtime storm that dropped a little bit of rain and hail. Tall updraft, and behind it, you see sun poking out. Super pretty. Here's another cool picture I took of some of that reddish hues at nighttime, and then look over me, high up in the picture, you can see actually blue light coming down. So a cool mix of the colors. Now another cool question. We'll stop for a second and take any questions anyone has. Let's see. What math do you have to take in order to be a meteorologist? You have to go at least about 1 or 2 courses beyond Calculus 3. So lots of math, but math is a very fun and a very elegant subject. So, you know, it might seem scary at first, but as long as you do baby steps in the building blocks of math, it's manageable, it's fun, and the more that you learn math, the more you can appreciate the elegance of math. It's like almost like a language. It's very cool. So yeah, take as much math as you can if you want to be a meteorologist, and we use it all the time. It's pretty fun. Let's see. Isn't a rainbow round because the light source, the sun, is round? Great question, Ryan. So the reason is not because the sun is round, because you can actually have moonbows when the moon isn't quite round or isn't quite full. The reason is because the sunlight enters the raindrop, and the raindrops are somewhat spherical, not quite, but is thrown out in all different directions. And so it's unpredictable because of all the chaotic motions inside the raindrop and the angle at which sunlight enters a raindrop. The light exits the raindrop in all different directions, and over time fills in that big arch we see, or that big round rainbow. So, how long do rainbows last? Jason, depends on how long the conditions last. I saw a fogbow before for about 6 hours, which was crazy. Some rainbows only last seconds, other rainbows last minutes. You can have rainbows even last a couple of hours, which is pretty cool. Now, why does the sky turn green before tornadoes, or does it? Well, most of the time it doesn't, but sometimes when you have hail and heavy rain inside a storm, light becomes blue. Now, around sunrise and sunset, we talked about earlier on, the light from the sun is more reddish and more yellow. And when you have yellow light and blue light mixed together, you can get green colors. Here's an example of a storm coming in around sunset. Here's another cool storm, and you'll notice more yellowish light on the left, greenish towards the middle. But look what happens when I get closer. All of a sudden, that storm looks really angry and really green. All that green, turquoise, aquamarine color, crazy colors inside that storm. That actually produced about, I want to say, tennis ball size hail, a little bit southeast of Woodward, Oklahoma, sort of near, I believe, Alva, Avard. Those areas back in 2018 saw significant hail from this storm. And you can see that hail core right there with the intense greens and the crazy blues. Now, pop quiz. Is this photo real? Any guesses? Is this photo real? Anyone guessing? Let's look at this photo. Is this photo real? It is. That was taken in the French Alps mountains last year, and it's real because when the air is filled with ice crystals, as you get in cold climates or as you get in tall clouds, the ice crystals, sometimes shaped like a hexagon or prisms or other cool shapes like that, you can get it to split the colors similar to how a raindrop does it. But because ice crystals are more structured in specific ways, better, cleaner shapes, you can get more refractions, more bounces of light, and more amazing structures like this, amazing optical phenomena. So here we have the main halo around the sun, the 22-degree halo. That's the one we're most used to. We see that sometimes in the wintertime or whenever we have cirrus clouds, the tall clouds way up there, or the wispy ones made of ice, and you can get that first round halo around the sun. Now, when you have a lot of different types of ice crystals that are in organized shapes, you can get lots of different halos, arcs, pillars, all sorts of really cool stuff like that, parhelix circles, and you get amazing sky scene like this one here. Other times, you can get something like this. I want you to guess, is this photo real? What do you guys think? Is this a real photo? Any guesses? Using what we just learned, is this photo real? Turns out it is. It was taken a couple months ago by Brett McKeon up in Manitoba, Canada. It's one of my favorite photos, and it shows both moon halos, so you see that round halo around there, moon dogs left and right of the moon, and then a corona. So that means there were high ice crystals up in the sky. You can see little specks of light that's likely the result of ice crystals or something called diamond dust near the camera. And then there were also super cooled water droplets. The water droplets make those more blended colors in the middle. So it's a really rare setup to see both ice and water in the atmosphere present at the same time, especially super cooled water droplets like that. It makes an amazing photo. It looks like a crazy eye at night. Now, one other question. Anybody want to guess? Can the atmosphere lie to us? Can we see things that aren't really there? Any guesses? Can the atmosphere lie to us and tell us stories? Can we see things that aren't actually there? Sometimes we can. It's called a mirage. If the atmosphere is certain temperatures, or if the temperature changes enough with height, you can cause things to look a little bit different. Maybe the objects appear higher or lower than they actually are. That's called a mirage. About 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I was out in Kansas. It was a really hot day. There was a tractor, there was an airplane, but I noticed distant vehicles looked like they were floating. And we know that doesn't happen. Farm equipment doesn't float. You can't have vehicles floating. What's actually happening is that the air temperature is changing so much at the lowest levels of the atmosphere that is causing things to look higher than they actually are. Here's another cool one. I went to Bolivia, South America, last December, and while I was there, I went to salt flats, big expanses of salt, and there was nothing for tens or even hundreds of miles. And what you're seeing right here, the temperature just above the salt flat was warm enough and then cooled significantly with height to bend the light rays and make it look like vehicles and even mountains are floating. Look at that. It looks like there are clouds below the mountains. Mountains floating, vehicles in the distance floating. It looks like there's water, and there wasn't. It's a crazy example of a superior mirage when things look higher up than they actually are. It's an amazing photo. I'm so excited I got to take this photo because you can actually see vehicles floating in midair. Here's another example I took that day of mountains and distant hills, again, floating. We know that doesn't actually happen, but it looks like it does here. Look how tall these people are. Now here's an example of an inferior mirage. People are standing and then they look like they're upside down, or they have upside down images beneath them, and even that Honda Pilot is reflected upside down. It's really cool. Yeah, you can see it sometimes marked with ships on the horizon. Very cool. Do I see a Harry Potter spell, Jennifer? Very cool, yeah. So these people we know are not actually 12 feet tall. It's impossible. You can't have anything like this in real life, but instead, what happened, the sun and the temperature of the atmosphere tricked us, bent the light rays such that we saw things that weren't really there. Here's another example. look how tall those people are, and look how tall that truck is. It's not really a monster truck. The picture makes it look a certain way. So with that, thank you guys so much for being here. It is wonderful to have you. I hope you learned something. I learned new things doing this as well, and I'm so excited to be able to share my adventures with you. So of course, comment your questions. We'll stick around for a few minutes, answer any questions you have, and hopefully share this with your friends. You know, any comments, any recommendations or suggestions you have, let us know. We're going to be searching around for different topics to do tomorrow. Share this with your friends. I know a lot of people are cooped up inside, so you might as well learn some cool science in the process. So any questions and recommendations you have, let us know. Carla is from Bolivia. Oh, that's so cool. Carla, what part? What part of Bolivia are you from? I love Bolivia. Kristen, jealous of how much you travel? Well, I wish I still got to travel. Unfortunately, I don't even have a window view anymore. Shannon, how close can you be to a rainbow and still see it? Well, you can actually not get any closer to a rainbow. As you get closer, the rainbow appears to be getting farther away, and it's kind of moving with you because you're always going to see the rainbow the same distance. It just means you're going to be seeing the rainbow with certain rain droplets that are farther. So the closer you get, the farther the raindrop will move. You can never, or the farther the raindrop producing the rainbow will move. You can never get closer to a rainbow. Let's see. Florence and Theodore would like to know if light from lightning can make a rainbow. You know, I never actually thought of that. If that happened, it would be so fleeting and so instantaneous, lasting less than a second, that it would be extremely tough to see. But great question. I have to think about that. I would venture to say no, because the sun is a point source of light, or almost a point source. Lightning is too long, too spread out to make one rainbow. So all the rainbows it produced would be both extremely faint and they would overlap, so you wouldn't be able to see a real bow. Sean wants to know, can a rainbow happen when it's raining? Yeah, absolutely. You can have a sun shower. As long as the cloud is over you and you're getting rain, you can have it raining, but the sun has to be peeking up from below the cloud. So just like earlier on, I showed that video of a hail bow while it was still hailing on top of me. As long as the sun is poking up, you can still get a little rainbow or hail bow. Is there a way to measure the height of a rainbow? You can use math called trigonometry to estimate how tall it is, but the rainbow will always appear the same height for certain elevations of the sun. Can we do a show on how to make our own weather station? That's a good idea. Shannon, thank you for that suggestion. Very cool. Are rainbows lucky? Rainbows are lucky if you want them to be. Personally, I consider tornadoes lucky, but I know a lot of people don't consider that, so it's all on how you look at it. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, Everett. And thank you, Daphne. So great to have you. Nick is 10, Everett's 8, Daphne is 7. Jack and Y would like to know, how many windshields have I broken while storm chasing? 3 so far, but now I have a special cage built around my truck to prevent from breaking the windshield. I'll be going out to storm chase in a couple weeks, hopefully, and hopefully I'll be able to get some cool videos and pictures and do some more lessons while out there. Is there a place where rainbows are more frequent than other places, like the Amazon rainforest? Anita, great question. You can have a lot of rainbows in the Amazon. You have tons of rainbows in Florida because the rain showers and the thunderstorms that produce the rainbows down there are so localized. They pop up. They're so small that you can have sun and rain happening at the same time very easily in Florida. Thank you, Nolan. Great to have you. Joanne wants to know, or rather Ben wants to know, he's 7. Can you have a rainbow with little rain? Yes, you can. Aaron, can you do tornadoes next? Henry, age 9, and Andy, age 12. I hope so. I would love to do tornadoes next. That's my goal. Thank you, Zach, and thank you, Kyle. It was so great having you. Aaron, great to have you as well. Thank you so much for being here. Leslie, yeah, nice. Thank you, Leslie. It was great to have you as well. Any additional questions, let us know. How old was I when I started storm chasing? You know, Zadok, when I was 7, actually back when I was 7, I saved my first communion money to buy a video camera, and I would ride around the neighborhood on a metal bicycle, chasing storms with my video camera during thunderstorms. Probably not safe, not recommended, but I've loved it since then. Only once I got my driver's license and I was in college and had the money could I finally go out and start storm chasing, and I was very lucky that Coca-Cola paid for the storm chasing, and it was part of my program at school, so things worked out super well, but I got to go out storm chasing. CBS News funded the camera equipment for it, so things worked out extremely well. But I've been storm chasing for about 4 or 5 years now on the plains, and I hope to continue doing that every year of my life. I love Weather School. Maeve, Weather School loves having you. Jay, Augie, and Riley, so great to have you guys. Thank you so much. Jessica, thank you. Nicola, Or Nicola, how do you chase a storm? Well, I think that's the subject of a whole class that I would like to teach. Maybe we'll do that later this week or next week. Can you have a rainbow with no rain at all? Yes, you can have rain falling and evaporate before it hits the ground. That's called virga. And as long as there's rain in the air, even if it's not hitting the ground, you can still form a rainbow. Or you can have a cloud bow when cloud droplets are just big enough to create a separation of colors, but maybe not precipitate down to the ground. Joanne wants to know, what is my favorite kind of storm? Well, I love supercell storms, anything that rotates. Thunderstorms are my bread and butter. Let's see, Matthew, thank you so much for being here. Sarah, great to have you as well. Theodora says she loves Weather School. Well, Theodora, Weather School, we love having you. Thank you so much for being here. What is a rainbow layer? Leslie, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, but if you have any more specific questions, I'll do my best to answer them. We'll get about 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll tune out for today, and we'll get ready for tomorrow. Let's see. Any additional questions? Yeah, thank you again so much to everyone who tuned in. We've been getting great audiences for these, great audience feedback, and any recommendations you have for topics you would like to see, different styles you would like to see, anything I can do to make this better and more educational, please let me know. We've been trying to figure out how we can get it so you'll see graphics and me at the same time, and unfortunately, we're not aware of any software yet. If you have any recommendations for Mac software I can use for this, do please let us know. Marianne, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for staying with us. We appreciate it. And with that, I think we're going to let folks go. It has been a pleasure having you. If you have any questions, let us know. Myself or someone from the team will do our best to respond for you in the coming hours. And with that, comment your wishes for what we'll talk about tomorrow, because we'll do our best to prep a good show for you and hopefully keep going. Bye, gang. And done.